making yourself suffer because you're seeing somebody else suffer is also on purpose, so that whatever it is you're fighting for doesn't have the longevity to withstand. Because if you're broken down, if you're tired, if you're bruised, if you're not sleeping well, if you're getting insomnia, if you're having mental health activated, your physical body is shutting down and you're still pushing, eventually, if everybody is like that, there's not going to be the cause that you're going towards. It's not going to have longevity. It's going to die out, and it's going to be like a trend or a fad. You know, a lot of people are saying this nowadays with certain protests that happened years back, where there's like, oh, well, it came and it went, and now it's gone, and now it's over. It was just like a little thing for the moment. And it's like, no, the activism continues. It's just, it applies differently now. And it continues to apply itself differently because people are evolving and people need to also take care of themselves.
Daily Humans podcast welcomes your beautiful selves. I am Ashling.
I am Nina. Nice to meet you.
Oh. What sense of starting early? Dude, honestly, I don't know.
You don't know? That's literally been the mantra for us for the past 2 weeks almost, maybe longer. I don't know. We keep sitting down to record and then we're like, I don't know.
It's the current energy. The energy is like, oh, thought process cut off.
Yeah.
Creativity cut off.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute because the energy has been wild. Oh my God.
I wish that. Do you know, is it in Peter Pan where the pixie dust, they take it out and it puts you to sleep? Not the one that makes you fly. There's some movie where the dust from the fairy puts you to sleep. Oh, if I had that pouch.
Just dump it over you.
Hold it up and you just see like a puff. Oh, and I would accept. I wanted to be asleep during this time. I'm sure everyone wanted to just take a nap.
Yeah.
Let's let the universe deal with all this and let's all take a nap.
Yes. There is an eclipse or something coming up, like the last one out of the series that we've been under. That's been like corrupting our lives.
Yes. So apparently we're heading into something. I think another. Let's get this astrology right, because I don't want to like.
It's something to do in Aries, and it'll be on the autumn equinox. So when I think the daylight starts to be equal again. Yeah. And it's supposed to be a very big event. It's supposed to, kind of like give the energy of being on the precipice of something, like having making a big choice for your life, or bringing about a big change. And so it's supposed to be a very big monumental moment, I guess. Hopefully, a good one.
On the 21st, in the sign of Virgo, we're going to have a karmic eclipse portal, is what the pattern app is calling it. And it says here there are 4 eclipses a year, 2 of which are about the past, releasing the past, and they're called South Node eclipses, and that is apparently what this one is. So let's all release the past collectively, whatever that means for individual selves. But on the 21st, it's happening.
Yeah.
In 2 days. Sunday for me, technically.
Let's release the past. Let's release the past.
Yeah. Release it. Nina said it in the last episode. You scrunch up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeet.
He would do that.
Absolutely.
I promise you all, you might think that it does nothing for you, but I can't tell you, even recently, getting in the mode of anger. I literally came
Mm.
into my room and I started stamping my feet to release it. Because obviously anger, is quite a big thing, especially for women. Autoimmune diseases has been linked to suppression of our anger. So I went into my room and I stamped my feet. And I was like, really just, like I was like that. I was like, oh. So, if you want to release the past, I guess just imagine like scrumpling it up and then yeet, just throw it. Why not? Visualize throwing it. Throw it
It
in the water.
belongs in the trash. So yeah.
Yeah, throw it in the trash. Recycle. Oh, no, don't recycle. Just put it in the trash. No recycling.
Yeah.
We don't want to recycle it to the next person.
We don't even want to recycle it to ourselves.
No. I was thinking more the environment.
Yeah.
Mother Nature's like, what is all this? She's looking at all the people that have yeeted their past towards her. Well, recycling, we're thinking of you. Lots of love.
Yeah, no, it's been a crazy time to be alive, and might as well, individually, collectively, we need to move on from the past and start embracing a better life and a better future because I mean, we have apparently only one life to live, so might as well do it the right way. Well, that's debatable, but do it the way that is in progress with evolution and not going back in time. But yeah, it's been a crazy last few weeks, and I don't know if you feel the same, but like the beginning of this month, first of all, September came in hard for me. It was like, let me bring up all these problems, honey, and we're gonna sit down, we're gonna cripple you with them, and then you have like an enlightenment moment, and you're like, oh my god, yeah, everything's fine, and now everything's fine, and now time is moving really fast. I don't know about
Mm.
you, but like the beginning of this month, it was very slow, and now it's moving very fast. Like every day is like 5 hours, and then it's bye bye.
Always me. I feel like I just got up and made the bed and now I'm already back in it. And
Yeah.
actually, Sarah, there are some days where it actually does piss me off because I thought to myself, where did the day go? I actually just made this bed and it actually infuriated me that I had to make it in the first place. So now I've got to get back in it. I'm sleeping on the floor. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no,
It has
I
gone really
1,000% agree.
fast. At this point, the amount of times that we've had these conversations of these days have gone fast and then you have some days that have gone slower. I'm at a point where I'm like, it is what it is. I can be annoyed by it, but it is what it is.
I mean, for you on your end, because you live in Australia, you're getting spring now, right? And that's about to come in October.
She's in. She's here because
Oh,
she's slamming the houses with her wind.
oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. She's been really howling. I think Mother Nature is sending signs because she's been furious.
Yeah.
The wind was so violent today. And then the other day as well, it was so violent as well. This spring has been like a violent, representing the collective violent.
That's
Yeah.
actually really interesting because our spring has been the same. It's been very cold. It's been very gray. It's been very not like any other summer we've or spring we've ever had. Summer as well. It's just been 99% of the time like autumn weather. So it's very interesting, and we've had a lot of storms recently as well. But I hope
I
the
think we need
sunshine
to.
comes, longer days for you, and then maybe the days won't go by so fast.
I love and respect your wishes, but I respect the sun being out, but I would like the blockage of the heat to happen. I'm not a fan of summer. You would never catch me saying, you know what, I'll take that back because someone will use it against me. I, at the moment, am not a fan of summer. I'm not a fan for multiple reasons. One,
Yeah.
it brings in snakes, and you have dogs. So brown snakes, when they come in, I hate it because I'm always watching the backyard. Like, Please tell me none of those, I was gonna swear, those snakes are in the backyard. I feel more on edge.
Yeah.
It's also hot to the point that not even the aircon is sufficing.
Ooh.
Sometimes it's like that. And the next thing is you can't breathe.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. The next thing after that is with winter, you can put more clothing on. In summer, you can't take your skin off. At that point, I need to take all the meat underneath it off too, because far out, just completely shedding yourself at that point. You can only take so much off. I'm not
Just
a
let
big
the
fan of
organs
summer for
breathe.
multiple reasons. Yeah, my liver wants to have a moment. Maybe my liver wants a tan. Maybe the kidneys want a tan in the sun too. So I'll just like unravel all the layers and then just right at the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't be a defender of summer, so I'm not looking forward to it. I'm a
Okay.
autumn, spring, winter girly all the way. But I will say, the only thing that I don't like about the cold, I'm not a fan of, is driving on the icy roads. That's just, and the haily storms when you're driving, not a fan. Not a fan. Not a
You
fan.
you get icy roads?
Mm,
That's how cold it
yeah.
gets?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy. Wow.
Taking Oscar to the vent in July, you would think, because he had two operations, and I would have thought that I would at least have one day without that haily, windy, icy experience. No, every time I went to the vet, it was like that. And I thought,
Mhm.
mate, I'm like fatigued. I'm out now because all my
Yeah.
energy has been put towards holding the steering wheel like this and
Yeah.
looking at the road and going really slow like a grandma. 110 kilometers? Who's she? No, I'm going like 60. Will not do. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that I'm not a fan of, only because it's unsafe to drive in. And some part of the road, the ice sits on top. So you'll
Mhm.
have some chunk of road where you don't have the experience of that. And then you have another part where you can literally feel the car. You have to slow down because you can feel the car starting to
Slide.
drift.
Yeah.
Yeah, slide. Yeah. So that's my annoyance of the weather. Thank you for joining us and have a lovely whatever day it is for you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on this news broadcast brought to you by the Daily Humans. Thank you. Now we
Human
zoom out
experience.
and the music is playing and we're just like talking. Yeah, that's
It
it.
was a moment of silence for those listening on Spotify. It was just a moment of silence.
Oh, yes. But today's topic of conversation is not the news. Well, not as well, maybe, possibly. But actually, it's all
Oh,
connected, as we always say. But it's more so
yeah.
about advocacy. Ashley, if you'd like to do the honors.
Um, my name is Ashley. I'm 29 years old. And I guess the conversation that we're bringing to you guys today is on my side of the coin, people looking for perfect advocators in a world that's not perfect. I've been advocating since 2017 in the mental health field. But at that time, there was no way in hell that I wanted to be seen too much in that space. There's no way I could have coped with any more than what was happening at that time. I mean, I did advocate with other organizations and that was okay. I had one debacle, not with an organization, but with being online and a particular person. But other than that, it was pretty safe, just advocating from a space of safety. Before I even start, I actually want to ask you a question.
Ooh, okay.
It's my turn. I'm putting the new thing on. So, Nina, in the experience of you being online, right? How do you feel being in the presence of this? Do you feel like advocation, like you have the expansion to advocate for the things that you believe in, your morals and values? Or is there a sense of unsafety that you feel expressing the things that you feel that advocation for?
What a wonderful question. Thank you so much. I think it is. I'm a big fan of your work, by the way. So it's an honor to be interviewed by you.
You're welcome, darling.
Actually, it's both. It's really funny because when it comes to my personal self, I definitely feel like I've gained a lot. I don't know. I feel like I've always been a little bit gutsy. I feel like I've always been the person that kind of pokes the bear with the stick. You know what I mean? Where like I talk about things, even if it pisses people off, I never really cared, even as a teen. But becoming an adult, and kind of going through everything in my life that I was going through, and now being more in the public eye, I guess, um, it's definitely evolved. I definitely think that I am very strong in my beliefs and my morals and my values more so than I've ever been in my life. So I don't necessarily let myself be bullied out of talking what I would like to talk about. But at the same time, there is a fear and there is hesitancy when it comes to certain discussions because it's like, how will this affect um, me down the line? For complete transparency, that's absolutely what I think about, because it's like, if I post this thing that I absolutely believe in and stand by, how is this going to be a repercussion possibly later on in life, because people say everything stays online forever. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I'm going to try not to become political, but everything is political. But we literally have Google Archives stop archiving since, I would say, probably beginning this year or end of last year. I can't remember quite the date anymore. So not everything will be saved forever. And I think if it is, whatever it is you're talking about is aligned with certain views and certain stances, they can be easily eradicated if a bigger power deems it so. So I don't know if everything will stay online forever, but I do think there is a big pushback when it comes to having certain discussions, certain types of advocacy, even though for me personally, it's all, you know, every single type of advocacy that is out there boils down to human rights. And everybody should have the ability to live a life that is true for them without fear or harm or repercussion for being who they are. So that's first. I think in my evolution, where I stand with things now, and this is kind of the mindset that I have with being online and advocating, and I haven't really received any backlash thus far. There are stupid comments in there, but that's not really my pushback that I've seen. I think more so it's political and systemic pushback that I have witnessed. But the thing that keeps me holding on and the thing that keeps me fighting through, even when I do get nervous, is that this is bigger than me. The things that you and I talk about are bigger than just ourselves. They're bigger than just this momentary situation that I find myself in, where I feel, unnerved, or what's going to happen if I post this, or how is this going to affect me if I post this, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. The fight is for justice. The fight is for doing the right thing. And that is something I always stand by and always will stand by. And I think truly, if you are an advocator, regardless of perfection or not, because there is no such thing as perfection, I'm going to get into that later, but um, it's always going to be difficult to be a person that speaks out about anything that is wrong in society, when people are very comfortable just looking the other way. And I think it just depends on what your why is and what your goal is. And I think I am nothing if I do not stand for the things that I believe in and the things that I deeply connect with on a human level. And so, regardless of the fear, I keep pushing through because, um, screw dictatorships, screw anybody who tries to make you believe that you have to be somebody that you're not, or have to conform in a certain way, or have to keep your mouth shut. I've always been a rebel with that. I've always asked questions. Like I said, I've always poked the bear with the stick. So why would I stop now? Because um, certain climates in the world, regardless of what it is about, whether it be women's rights, human rights as a general, LGBTQIA, or certain, genocides that happen around the globe. I will never stand by and just be silent and look the other way. That's not the type of person that I am, and therefore I have to break the distance between comfortability and uncomfortability. I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it gave a little bit of an insight. So yeah, I do feel fear, but I push through it.
You did answer the question, and I think it's a good perspective on one side of the spectrum that I think a lot of people find themselves at is the worries and the understandable, I guess, fears in some way, I'll say. And then there's the other side, not another side, but different experiences towards showing up and being in the space of advocation, where I think it kind of blurs the lines, which is why during my advocacy, when I started off, I was on that same, I was in that same energy of why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you doing anything? Why are all of you so complicit? Why is this? Why is that? And I used to make posts just coming at people, whoever was watching, in the attempts to be like, hey, I feel like I need to shame you because you're not acknowledging something that is so heinous, right? When I started my advocacy journey, I threw myself into a lot of the violent acts that are committed by humanity, sorry, because the justice that I wanted to be a part of meant being aware of as many different realities as I could, because that to me is not playing in the ignorance or ignoring something that someone else is experiencing. I didn't want to participate in that. So being aware of as much as I could was how I started off. But the thing is, the reality, we're still human beings behind the advocacy. I was not in any sort of position to be filling the cups of humanity when I didn't even have a cup yet, right? So my mental health was already in such a low point, and I was coping with different forms of I addiction, but not in the way that you know it to be. More like using things to distract myself from like anything to do with life, not being present, binge eating as well, and using other forms of what I thought was coping to cope with general life, right? And even that was very vague. There was no image to what I was doing. It's just the fact that I knew what it was like to experience injustice, and I wanted to not participate in other people's injustices and bring that kind of justice by doing what I could, which was acknowledging and also participating where I could.
Yeah.
But over time of being online and that sort of growing and expanding my voice and knowledge, but also my mental health was declining even more so. And I realized that I can't advocate externally. It's also why I'm not doing counseling. Like, I'm a professional counselor, I'm a mental health practitioner, but I'm not doing it because how can I sit there and be present with others when there is so much dysregulation in my own life and within my own self. Like I cannot do that when I know that helping people, especially knowing the stories of many, not all, but many, and the different experiences that happen in the human experience, it's that thing of when I show up to these spaces, I want to show up present and not within my own, like stuck in my own disassociation of what's happening to me and what I'm thinking and what I'm going through, because it's just, it's still really irregular. So I was still I still had my account, but I got to a point where I thought, you know what, I think I might stop because I don't know if I can actually do this. I don't know if I can keep showing up on a space where there are so many people and there are more and more people joining. So the social media platforms that we were on back then, a lot more like Instagram and Facebook. I just like, um, so I actually thought about stopping, but then for some reason I didn't. But yet I still wasn't dealing with the core issues that needed to be dealt with for me to keep doing this. It's kind of like I know someone who automatically went externally but has not done any inner work. So essentially, they are collapsing within themselves and it's looping while they apparently want to advocate for humanity. But yet, even the forms of those loopings are controlling and manipulative and gaslighting. And it's like, that's the thing when you're not going internal, is that the loops, the things that survive from your survival patterns, will find other new loops to bring into that loop. It just sort of keeps expanding further from yourself. And I knew that I could not do anything for anyone else if I was going to be a hypocrite. And that's harsh. I'll just say, like, if I wasn't going to walk the path that I was advocating towards others, I really just had to take a step back because I was also not coping at all. So, even part of being a part of the organizations that I participated in, certain projects that they had, which was a few, it was really great to be able to expand further than myself. But again, who I was showing up as was still such an unhealed version. And I didn't know what to do with all of this information, right? That's why this conversation of the expecting a perfect advocate, all of this is something I learned over time, and especially from my own mirroring of my own experiences and realizing I don't know how to help people if I can't help myself, you know? Even though I can help people and somehow I have the answers when it comes to everyone else, but I'm neglecting everything to do with me. What then? How you're like a zombie. You know what? I picture it like a zombie. Like you're showing up to the protest as a zombie, but you're not even connected to your own humanity. You're not actually connected to your own healing. You're not actually connected to your own self. And you're showing up to this protest, protesting for other people. And that's what everyone says. Like, I know people advocate for that and they say just show up no matter what. Just do it. I get it. But you also need the human being to show up to these spaces. You need the person. And they need to be in a healthy position where they can also be there, but also be there for themselves. And I think people bypass this, but yet we're talking about mental health. And if you're talking about mental health and the health and safety of someone's mental health, this is a part of that factor. And I had to learn this too, to have a boundary line between showing up and also I can't show up if I'm not able to even get there because I keep collapsing in my own loops and in my own dysregulation, as I'm saying multiple times, which I'm going to repeat myself on. So, where I'm at now, right? I recently posted a video just today, too, which like perfect timing for this conversation. I posted a video talking about this because I've seen multiple videos over the last few years of people that were doing what I was doing when I first started, because you're angry, you're frustrated. I'm not invalidating any of that. It's not the point. But I am advocating for the reality that not everyone is within the picture of ignorance. Not everyone is within the image of they're not talking, so they're complicit. That's not the image. There's over 8 billion people, and a lot of you advocate for the very experiences that people are experiencing that hinders them from being able to step forward and spread justice for other people when there's no justice in their own lives. And they've got to do that inner work to actually find some groundedness for that. And that's something I've had to do too. You know, you're expecting something, you're expecting let me say it like this, the black and white image that a lot of us see life through, and I'm saying that for myself once upon a time, is not going to validate what is truly happening externally from that. And if we want to advocate for people, to me, that means seeing externally from the image that you have right in front of you, that you think that's all there is. This is what it is. It's not. It's really not. There are plenty of people that I've met that grew up in really heinous environments and they want to speak openly, but they shut down at the thought of using their voice because their voice was taken from them emotionally. So they've got to literally have that time and space to rebuild the confidence in using their voice. You have a child that's been silenced for a majority of their life. You're expecting them to advocate perfectly. They've got to learn how to build their voice back up, to build their confidence back up, to then build the fear of being perceived and the fear of being seen. There's more than just this one thing. It's not just about building the voice up. They've got to then deal with what's stopping their confidence from doing so. Wherever the stagnation is moving, they've got to deal with the trauma that's behind that too. Nothing is just set in stone. This is it, and there's nothing more to it. And I said this in the video for myself that, you know, for me, feeling safe has been probably one of the biggest issues for myself, is that I grew up not feeling safe. So I grew in that from child all the way to now. I grew up in the analogy that nothing is safe and no one is safe, because at a young age, I experienced things from adults that no child should ever experience. I saw things that no child should ever see, right? And I know a lot of people, the visualization of that, I'm not expecting you to, but I'm going to say it right. What other psychological um, space do you think comes from constantly witnessing the unsafety? What do you think comes from that a child just starts to see the world as rainbows and sunshine? That's the best way I can describe that, at the moment at least. So over the years, that's also why I really struggled with advocating online to the point of being seen a lot more, because I couldn't trust what that would do, who I would come across, how would they treat me. I couldn't cope with the unlimited amount of thoughts that were going through my head daily. And I'm not just talking about literally just in my waking life. When I was sleeping as well, I was consistently being shown different scenarios of what could happen, because complex PTSD does that to you in your sleep. You're also experiencing the reenactment of the very things that brought complex PTSD. So I'm literally saying this entire space that I was living in was constantly reminding me of how unsafe the world is. Yet I was choosing to do this because, like I said, the injustice was also there. Like I knew it. And it angered me. Everything I saw online pissed me off. When this person did this person did that. When I was like out there, living out there, and I'd see people do certain things, it would piss me off, because I thought, why do you need to be doing this? Why do you need to be an asshole? Why do you need to be so fucking suppressive and racist. And I just would get so mad at it, but I didn't feel safe to actually be in the space of saying that externally from me, because I didn't believe there was a safe space to do so. Right? Now, where I'm at now is I work through my nervous system because I've just started to regulate my nervous system. So move from dysregulation to regulation. And I'm still learning what even the hell that is. I'm just learning all this. At 29, I'm just learning all this. So when I post through my nervous system space. I post through that. And it's difficult because, like I said in this video, I am annoyed at, like, I'm generally pissed at so much of what I'm seeing. And I sit back and I think, there's just no reason. There's no reason. What's your what's your human hatred gonna do for you apart from satisfy the very thing within you that needs to create internal and external chaos, because you don't know how to bring stability to the chaos within? Like, it's just, there's so many things that piss me off, right? And I'm slowly speaking more and more out about it, especially the specific topics. Let me say it like this, right? There are certain topics that, you know, when I see it, right, it's like this. It's like I see it and it travels down, and my nervous system internalizes how I'm starting to feel with seeing that topic. So there are certain topics where it's been spiked over because more people have seen that specific topic. And because more people see that topic, my nervous system's like, you're going to be seen way too much. You're going to have thousands of people coming at you, and they're going to stalk you. They're going to harass you. They're going to come after you. These are the type of things that come into my head because they've been a part of my survival system for a long time, because I've been harmed by other human beings. So I know the capability of human beings. But this is more than just one or two people. Into my nervous system, this is thousands, hundreds of people. And I've seen them in comment sections. When I look at other people's posts and I see it in the comment section, you have projector, 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 bully, bully, bully. And the first thing after witnessing that, my nervous system, I have to get off, because I can feel the spike of being like, how are you going to cope with that? I don't know what I'll do in that moment. Like, I can't cope. Don't post. Don't post. I won't be able to post for the next 2 to 3 days because I'm constantly thinking about, well, I can't say what I was going to say because it's going to be seen and then it's going to be projected on, and I won't cope. Like, I can't cope with all these people, right? That is a part of the survival pattern that I go through, right? And it can take me a long time to get out of nervous system spikes. And I've had these conversations with Nina before where it's like, I feel so many different things, but I'm too dysregulated to actually put it out there. And I'm also advocating for this because people have the assumptions that this stuff is correlating with fear and nervousness. This is not the same. Don't get it mixed up. They're not the same. What I feel and what many other people experience that's in same conjunction as what I'm experiencing from complex PTSD or any other mental health condition or generalized dysregulation is not the same as fear and nervousness. It's not the same. It needs time, as much time as you need to get it. This podcast has helped me. Having Nina's space has helped me in so many ways to feel a lot more comfortable speaking, a lot more comfortable being in this space. But there have been moments where things have spiked me, they've activated me, they've triggered me. And I've said to Nina, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to take this timestamp out because I said this and I can't have this be heard because I can't cope with what I might cop from that. Like being doxxed, just being harmed, being hurt, because that's happening right now, may I just say. And I'll be honest, that makes me afraid. That makes me afraid. And not just afraid in the terminology that you know, afraid. I'm like internal systems absolutely rattled, going to dream about it probably for the next few nights. Need to journal about it because now I can't speak. Like it actually locks my voice when I get into this position. I can't speak. And then I'm so fatigued. My creativity goes out the window. I can't present anything to anybody because I'm so fumble jumbled. So, in one part of this, that is my advocation for why there are, like, you know, the statistics of mental health, you know, the very things that you advocate for, you know, pedophilia, you know, domestic violence. You hear about the numbers of abuse, like the violent acts of humans, you know about it, right? So why would you think that the perfect advocator is going to be in this present reality with how many people experience this stuff? I think it's really unreasonable to expect people to show up in this manner where everything is acknowledged and they show up with this full, I'm ready to take the beating. I'm ready to take whatever comes my way. It is terrifying to many to have so many people coming at you and they pick on everything. They come at you for everything. And you have a nervous system that can cope with that. I've just started that. So many people online, even recently, some people were talking about it, where you need to prep your nervous system before you post online. And I agree. You need to prep your nervous system before you post online. I 100% agree. And the fact that people need to do that just showcases it takes one person to dysregulate someone's nervous system. One. So if you have thousands in your comment section or hundreds, what then? And you're constantly being put through that every freaking day. And then you're expecting them to be the perfect advocate. And look, if they can stand up and continue on and poke the bear and be okay with that, that does exist too. Yes, people like that do exist. Nina's conversation, like what she said, that does exist as well. And then also this reality exists too. So it's a process. And as I said online, I work through myself. I work through how I feel. I work through how my nervous system feels. I work through me to be as present and advocating as I can. And it will take whatever time that it needs from me. But I know where I stand. I know my morals. I know my values. It's just working through the dysregulation to be able to speak out loud with this stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think, my friend?
No, you stated it perfectly. You know, it's something that I've had to grow within my own understanding as well, and something I'm continuing to try and understand and evolve myself on. Um, is that it's A, like you said, there's no such thing as perfection. B, everybody has something going on. So there must be also a human to human compassion there and understanding that is given. And then also, you don't really know what that person is doing in silence. The person that may not be speaking out loud on a platform may be supporting in other ways in the background, right?
Yes.
That's also a reality. Not everybody's going to be advocating the same way or through the same means and the same mediums. But it's tough. I'm not going to lie. You know, there is a part of me that's like, when it comes to certain people, especially people in positions of power or have a lot of um I don't know what the only word that's coming to mind is like gravitas, that have a lot of weight and can do a lot of things just with some kind of saying, some kind of statement. It is difficult for me on the outside looking in, let me just say it that way, that to understand why a person may not be saying something. It's a gray area, and it's something that I'm still exploring within my own understanding within humans and how we all connect and relate to one another. And I do understand where a lot of people, you know, for instance, there's a lot of shaming we've talked about this in an episode before where we talked about advocacy, but there is a lot of shaming that goes on online and even in the physical spaces when you don't speak out about something by other creatives or by other advocates. It just, there's a lot of shaming, there's a lot of cycling there's a lot of hostility that can come up, and that can make people pull away even more. In fact, it can make people go the opposite way of what they're trying to advocate for, which is also a different discussion. But there are many different realities and a lot of gray areas, and it's difficult. And I understand where the anger could be coming from with people who may feel disappointed. For example, if their like favorite advocate or celebrity or whatever public figure doesn't stand up for something that is human and that is a problem at whatever capacity it may be in. I understand the disappointment. And I also understand the wanting to give a person a leeway of like, okay, maybe there's some stuff going on around here that we can't see from where we're sitting. It's a very difficult area. That's why I always try to, like Ashley said, you go back to self. You have to regulate yourself. You have to see where you're coming from. And I guess my question to the collective or anybody listening and watching this is, if you're out there and you're getting upset, either if advocacy is something that you heavily stand by and you don't see somebody else doing the same thing and you think they should be, what is it about them that is making you so upset that they're not speaking out, that you couldn't be doing or other peers in your community are already doing? I understand support. I understand wanting to get more people involved in stuff. But also, advocacy is not done by everybody in the exact same way. And so I guess maybe that is my question for the collective, and maybe, you guys can answer, because I am curious to know and I'm curious to evolve within this, because I'm in a very complicated situation here within this discussion, because I do believe it's difficult for me to understand how you can stand for something and then be friends with somebody who doesn't stand for that or has spoken out against what you support, because I see that a lot. It's difficult for me to understand people who people call it performative activism or performative, showing up and being a performative ally or whatnot. It's very hard for me to understand how people can use current social issues in the way they express themselves creatively or within their work or whatever it is people do, and then not stand for it within their own personal lives. These are kind of the complex situations where I'm struggling within the understanding of that. But also, again, that person is not me. And again, I'm sitting here when I think about these things, giving all my energy to what somebody else is or is not doing. And that's why I'm like, maybe I should look more inward and be like, what can I be doing more? What could I be, supporting? Or what about this is upsetting me? Which is why I asked this question to all of you out there, is because it's like, when we give so much energy to what everybody else isn't doing or what we wish somebody else could do, we're actually losing a lot of vital information within ourselves, and either what it is that's upsetting us truly underneath it all, or B, we're wasting time. And yeah, I don't know. It's complex, and I'm, like I said, for the third time now, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to grow. When it comes to me personally, to go back kind of to what I said earlier with poking the bear with the stick, I don't know. It's difficult showing up. It's difficult. I don't consider myself an advocate in that way. I consider myself just a human being standing up for human rights. For me, it's not any more complex than that. For me, it's just a way of life. Personally speaking, I probably was born this way, because I remember, I'll tell this story real quick. I remember the first time I was in a fast food. I'm not going to name the place. I was in a fast food. I was 6 years old, I believe. I was with my mother, and we were paying up front at the counter. And there was this little jar of pennies in there for donations to like a charity or like kids who needed food and whatnot. And I didn't understand it at the time. So I looked up at my mom and I was like, hey, mom, what's this thing? Why are people throwing money in there? Why are the, cashier people asking for people to throw money in there? Coins. And she's like, well, this goes to a charity for kids who are in need. And I'm like, what's a charity? Because I hadn't heard of that word before. And she's like, well, it's like an organization, and they get together and they help people. They collect money and they donate money to people so they can get food. This one is for food. And I'm like, and she said for kids, food for kids. And I'm like, what do you mean food for kids? And then my mom's like, well, there are kids all around the world. This one was for Africa, certain countries in Africa. And they don't have enough food, so we donate, and they donate the money to people in need, and then the kids have food. And I'm like, my mind was blown in that moment. I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? There are children on this earth that don't have food? There are children on this earth who don't have what I have, who don't have shelter, who don't have a home. And that was the first time ever in my life where kind of like the bubble that I had been living in, and obviously I'm a child, I'm 6 years old, but it started to crack. And I was honestly, it took me like a week to process that, because what do you mean? There are children on this planet who don't get to eat, who don't have a safe space to grow up in. And that is within all capacity at this point, with me as an adult looking at life and looking at, social circumstances. But it's like, I feel like I've always been the type of person that cannot stand injustices. I don't understand why there are homeless people. I don't understand why veterans get treated like trash. I don't understand many things about life, or why society is the way that it is. And so from an early on age, I've always been into standing up for the things that I was made aware about. I was, for a certain amount of time, like, I don't know what the technicalities of it was, if it was an ambassador or whatever for WWF, the animal thing, which I found out was a hoax. They're not really doing what they said they're doing, allegedly, for legal purposes. So it's just like, growing up as somebody who wanted to see the world be a better place, and I still do, and then seeing all the organizations that I thought were doing the right thing not do the right thing, or only do a quarter of the thing they said they were going to do. And then have pessimism of people around me like, I don't really believe in charities, they just take money, they don't really do the thing. But those people then not doing something in their own circles or like communities to change something for the better in the world, like it caused a lot of kind of like, I need to just kind of bulldoze through and give my point across, and like I'm not going to stop until I get what I want. And so I do have this mentality of like, I don't give a damn what anybody has to say or how anybody feels, because these are the things that are needed in society, and this is what we need to be doing to make this happen. But at the same time, there's a lot of gray, like I said, and not a lot of people, or not everybody operates the way I operate or thinks the way I think. And so trying to find the gray and be okay with that and focus on myself and focus on what I can do is kind of where I need to live, and at least for the time being. And when it comes to fear, I asked myself this yesterday, and I don't know if I can say the word on this platform, but I will just try. If it gets muted, it is what it is. I have asked myself yesterday, because I have been recently very scared again about the state of the world. If we've ever overcome fascism before, I've asked this, and I know that there are historical representations of like very horrible things happening in the world, governments that are abusing their people, the vying of power and control. This has been a story throughout the human lifespan since the beginning, unfortunately. And I had like this moment where I was like, if one day I will be, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like reprimanded for everything I stand for and everything I believe in, do I have the power to keep speaking my voice? Do I have the power to keep standing up for what I believe in, or will I be silenced out of fear? And my response to that, and this is what I constantly go back to, and it relates to what I said in the last episode as well. If I see myself as a lover and I see myself as loving deeply, and there are things that I deem as insane that are happening in this world, I cannot choose to not say anything. Even if it means one day I could be in trouble because of it, or I may not get something, or a position or a job, or, it doesn't matter. And that's really hard to do. And when I look at it from that angle, I understand now why a lot of people choose to just remain quiet. I understand why some people choose to just be, advocates in silence, say something to their friends, but not out in public, especially if they're a public person. And it's a very difficult space to be in, especially because we're talking not only about one subject, even within this video, we're not just talking about one thing. We're talking about a lifetime of human created issues that are so deeply interwoven within our mental health, within how we relate to each other, within our communities, within the businesses we work in, with just capitalism as a whole, how we consume. It is so deeply interwoven with every single fabric of our existence that I sometimes get so overwhelmed that I sit there and I'm like, what's the point of anything? Because if there's one issue that gets solved, it just causes another one down the road, or there's this other thing and then that thing. And will we ever be able to live as a society clean of the horrible atrocities that happen in the world? And I don't know if that's possible, to speak honestly. But even if, and this is kind of the all in all thing that I want to boil it down to, this is kind of my mantra in life at this point. It's if nothing matters, and if we're all going to die, and if everything disappears, what am I choosing to do with my life and my voice? My ancestors have brought me to this point where I get to speak. I, as a woman in this world and as a woman of color, get to speak. And that is something that when I've been in a very deep fear zone of like, I don't know if I can say this anymore. Maybe I should take this offline. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I should take this out. Like, I think about that and I think about how much have our ancestors fought for? How much have women fought for? How much have the LGBTQIA community fought for? How much have we as communities in this world fought for to be able to speak? And I don't want to be the person that lets the uncertainties of the future get in the way of me doing the right thing. So sometimes it may take me a little bit longer. Sometimes I might need to pull back and regulate myself. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna die an activist, and that's just the way it's gonna be. Even if the activism may not be out front, or may look different, or may be adjacent to something else, I don't know. But I will never stop, personally speaking, fighting for the right things. It's just about the process of how to do that in the best way possible that can, like Ashley said, keep you safe, because there is doxing. There are people who will try to ruin your life, ruin any experiences, any opportunities for you if you don't stand by certain ideologies. And that is horrifying and bad and terrible. But at the same time, if we let people like that win, if we allow them to silence us forever, they will have won. And that's not an option for me. Sorry. So, if we turn into The Handmaid's Tale, because I haven't read the book and I haven't watched the show, but I get the overall picture. I'm gonna just go die. I'm gonna go out screaming, just like I'm gonna take everybody with me. Not the women, the people oppressed, the people doing the oppressing. I'm gonna take them out one by one. I'm gonna be like John Wick, but the female version. And I'm going to use my words, and I'm going to do what is possible to, stand by what I believe in. But yeah, it's tough. It's very nuanced. Just to go back to the serious part of it and not, make jokes, but it's a very complex situation and it's not easy, and it can be just discussed in like 0.5 seconds. Oh, you don't talk about this thing, you stand by it, you're complicit. No, that's not how that works. Like Ashley so very well said. There are so many things that you don't see behind the image of whatever it is, whoever it is that you're looking at. And it's very intricate. It's not a one and done thing. Um, but we can dismantle it one day at a time, one person at a time, one ideology at a time, hopefully. And hopefully one day, we're going to be a better human race. And if not, well, then planet Earth is just going to take care of us and take us out. So everything's going to be fine anyway.
Off the planet Earth's like, you know what, I'm getting these humans right into space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to say. A lot of good things that you said. With the ancestral lineage, what I think about with fascism and homophobia is generational trauma.
Mm.
So my thought process is your ancestors, as well as my ancestors as well, had to fight in ways that we don't have to these days, in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Not saying everything, because essentially it was based entirely on our entire selves need to be put into this. We have no other choice. But the thing about the present moment now and generational trauma is that if advocating is going to constantly be in that space, then what are we setting the future up for? How are human beings going to exist outside of survival,
Right.
outside of fight, flight, freeze? How are we going to have emotional regulation and health if we are constantly going down this path? And again, I validate the fight because my conversation is not suppressing the fact that I feel it too. I want to poke the bear. I do. I can feel that part of me becoming more confident to come to the surface. But that's the process, though, is building, going internal and building the confidence to stand for what you believe in. But it has to take that process, because if I didn't, then I would be constantly living in a space of ill health and low mental health and constantly looping through that while advocating for things. That's the entire conversation that I'm having with this. Is it's not about perfect, it's about healthy.
Yeah.
And even though what's happening is not healthy, it's completely inhumane. It's dehumanizing in every aspect of that meaning, right? I still will never be able to invalidate the fact that we live in such a dysfunctional, dysregulated society. When does that start to find its resolution? If we're going to constantly keep moving through that and then pushing other people to move through that. It's like you can't advocate unless you're in dysfunction. You
Right.
can advocate while also being grounded. So you can look after yourself, which you should, for yourself, for your loved ones, for your life, while advocate. That's what I'm advocating for,
Yeah.
is being present in your morals and your values, as well as taking care of yourself, because you need yourself to do that. Again, someone needs to be humanly present in their space to do that. I'm not saying perfect. I'm not saying that you walk around and it's with your angel wings and your emotional regulation is like beyond, you know, God. It's like godlike material. Don't go that far into it. It's again about health in the way of not giving themselves up entirely for something that needs them. that needs them in their health. That's what I'm trying to say. I remember the amount of comments I used to see of people saying, I haven't slept for days, I'm really
Mm.
anxious. And I sat back and I thought, there were other people commending them and saying, good. Like, I'm glad that you're advocating. But it's like, do you not see that their advocation is coming at the cost of them? So then we have another issue that's being brought into society is that people are going through physical health conditions from constantly giving themselves to these spaces without actually realizing that you need to be taken care of at the same time. Because this is what I did. I got myself into some pretty severe positions, physical health and mental health wise, and emotional health wise, because I focused entirely on the external. And I don't know how that helps anyone. If I don't want to live and I'm trying to help other people live, that doesn't really, where's the
Mm.
correlation to that? You know, it's not healthy for me because advocation is also about self too. And I think it's where I find people blurring the lines, as they say, it's about what's happening, right? And I can fully acknowledge that as I'm going to repeat myself a few times to really say, I am not disregarding that. The circumstances of what's happening is beyond, like Nina said, is beyond my own space, is beyond Nina's space. Like, we can admit that. I can admit that 100%. And there have been ways that I have spoken about it. But if I completely disregard, which I've done before, if I just keep looping in the same shit that wasn't helping me before, I can't do anything. The things that I want to do, I will not be able to do because I've done it before. And instead of doing it again, I need to learn from it and figure out another way where I'm not collapsing myself to stand up for the things that I want to stand up for the injustices that are occurring all around us, for the inhumanity that people thrive on, for the bullshit that doesn't need to exist, but humans are making it out like it needs to. Yeah. And it's what's happening. And I honestly think this pathway, yes.
Yes. Now you finish your sentence.
I was just gonna say, I really do believe that this pathway is a necessity for the future of human rights, honestly, because if someone who is experiencing debilitating health conditions, you have other ways of advocation, but there are people outside that are not finding that to be good enough. So then they use
Mm.
shame and they project. This is what I'm talking about. Is that I've done advocation not through social media. Like, you wouldn't have known what I've done. I've done things outside of that because advocation has many different looks to it. It's literally like paying for someone's groceries without anyone knowing. I sometimes give someone the free meal in the drive-through at McDonald's because if I can do it, I'm doing it. And that's me saying it now, but there are other ways where you're, like Nina said, it's not just advocation, it's just being a human being and supporting other human beings. There are other ways that you can do it, and I've found other ways to do it by donating, but I don't need to tell anyone, I don't need to say anything. I just do it through my own space where I'm at that point. And I've done that. I did those organizations because I wanted to help. I did that, but I had to learn how to do it in mind of the reality that we're not robots and you can't expect anyone to function like that. I think also
Absolutely.
where, if I may say, when you become a politician, when you step into that position, because I just wanted to say this too, that is essentially the job description. You're technically meant to be for the people, right? So if I decided to head into a position like that, then yeah, my voice would need to be in a position of there, right? But like I said with counseling, I'm not in that position because I also don't want to be. I'd like to do it in another way. But if I was, I would have to be there. And how the hell do I give this person that if I can't be there where I need to be? It just nothing finds any kind of resolution when things are like this, when they need to be like, they need to like conjoin, but if things are like this, then there's no conjoining. So you've got to find what can conjoin that. And that is hard for people to hear because to some people, again, they think through that it's this, and this. We've all done it. We've all done it. I'm not blaming and I'm not shaming. But this, and this doesn't speak for the reality of over 8 billion people. Yeah.
I wanted to say this, maybe, and I'm not going to say it's a psyop or like it's on purpose, but within the survival mode of activism, um, maybe they want to run you down and make you believe that you have to do it at the expense of your own health and mental health and well-being so that it doesn't have the longevity that the whatever it is your activism is for, whatever it is you're speaking out for, has. So if you're run down, if you're broken, if you're tired, if you're bruised, if you're not well, let's say you're at a protest and every day you show up and like Ashley said, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm not doing this, I'm feeling very scared of the world, I'm being run down systematically in my physical body. Maybe that's the point that a lot of people are pushing it, not on purpose. Maybe that's just the way people believe they need to be doing something to go hardcore all day, like 24/7 nonstop. But maybe that type of activism, that type of dysregulation, making yourself suffer because you're seeing somebody else suffer, is also on purpose so that whatever it is you're fighting for doesn't have the longevity to withstand. Because if you're broken down, if you're tired, if you're bruised, if you're not sleeping well, if you're getting insomnia, if you're having mental health activated, your physical body is shutting down and you're still pushing, eventually, if everybody is like that, there's not going to be the cause that you're going towards. It's not going to have longevity. It's going to die out and it's going to be like a trend or a fad. A lot of people are saying this nowadays with certain protests that happened years back, where there's like, oh, well, it came and it went and now it's gone and now it's over. It was just like a little thing for the moment. And it's like, no, the activism continues. It's just, it applies differently now. And it continues to apply itself differently because people are evolving and people need to also take care of themselves.
That is honestly everything because if you really think about it, there's been numerous of conversations of people talking about how they try to keep you sick because if you're sick, you don't have the cognitive function to be so fully aware of your space and yourself because you're too busy in the space of I don't feel good.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. I feel low. I feel crappy. And we all know that when you're even the fact that you can actually get fatigued from compassion, you can get compassion fatigued, right? So if they shove every single thing that's happening within the world in someone's face to the point where you get fatigued from that, then it makes it too difficult for the body to actually show up. It literally reminds me of keeping people sick and just sort of the looping of that. And maybe some people feel like we've spoken about this before, and you mentioned it as well. The shame cycle is used and has been used for generations. The shame cycle is apparent and it's abrupt. And I think we don't know what else to do because that's just always been the thing. But shame was a creation. Shame was created from somewhere. So what makes you think that nothing else can be created to take over the shaming cycle? Why can't we try other ways of doing things? because it wasn't working in the first place. If everyone's too fatigued, then who advocates? If everyone is collapsing in the lowness of their mental health and their physical health, then who's there to advocate? Who's there to be present?
No
Because
one.
this stuff catches up with you as well. What happens when you get older and you're dealing with the repercussions of physical health? What happens then? It's just the fact that the future of your health and for generations as well needs to be done in a healthier way, which I know the line is difficult because of what's happening presently around us. But maybe in a lot of ways, like Nina said, maybe a lot of it is so deliberate, as
Mhm.
well as us having to learn how to also advocate for better ways of advocating. It's just, we can't keep running the way that ancestors did it, the ancestor lineage did it. It can't keep running through the sacrifice of self. And it shouldn't. None of this should be happening in the first place. We all know that. Well, for some people, other people, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why some people believe that racism and homophobia and the conversations against trans people, that's been another thing I've been thinking about. Like, why is the conversation just so projective to what is the problem? Actually, you know what the problem is that you're not going internal to ask yourself why you're angry at this.
Mm.
Which is why this has something to do with the advocation too, because if you don't have people going inwards, then that's the same thing that's being reflected from the people that are projecting inhumanity because they're not going inwards either. So if no one's going inwards, we keep looping through the same shit over and over again. And you have people that are projecting homophobia and never turning around, looking in the mirror and saying, why am I being homophobic? Why do I need to be? Why do I need to be this way? Why do I need to treat people like this? Why do I need to be so inhumane? They don't ask the questions because no one else is actually going internal. They're just staying external. And in
It
my
all
opinion, you need to go internal. Yes.
there's like this quote. There's this quote that's like, if you want to change the world, uh, you have to go within first. You have to change yourself first. I can't remember. Like this is definitely out of context, but yeah, that was the main heart of the quote. And
Yeah.
you said something really fascinating as well. It's like the way our ancestors advocated and got us to where we are today is not the way we need to do it today because the system has evolved, the oppression has evolved. It has all evolved in different ways. And the quote unquote, I'm not going to use that word, the methods that are used to get into your brain, because that is what all things are there for, especially social media. It's trying to get into your brain, whether it's advertising, whether it's protesting, whether it's causing outrage over something. It's trying to incite something. Your mind is the playing field, right? And so if you are not connected to self, and if you don't have the boundary to kind of pull yourself back when you're getting overwhelmed, regardless of what it is you're being overwhelmed by, your mind gets occupied and you can't evolve and you start acting out of rage and you're starting to act out of the emotions that are more dark, which is not necessarily bad. They can be used for good, but you said this, you can turn into a person that advocates for one thing and then goes and is anti something else and is then part of a problem of a different type of activism, a different type of protest, right? You can be
Mm.
for one thing and be against another, not really realizing that all of it is connected because you're disconnected from yourself. All of it is connected. The discussion about trans rights, it's connected with gender equality, it's connected with racism, it's all connected, it's all one thing. But if you're so dysregulated within yourself, you will never know that you're being oppressed yourself.
Yeah. I love your brain.
I love your brain. You're the one who conjured this up.
You conjured it up, I conjured it up. We're just flowing. We're flowing.
Yeah.
But that's seriously there is this young man on TikTok. I sent the video to Nina and Jay. Hi, Jay. And I said to them, you guys have to watch this young man. He's putting parts on TikTok talking about how he moved from, I'm thinking America,
The right,
Republicans are the right,
alt right,
yeah,
yeah.
and then Democrats are the left.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So how he basically became so engulfed into red pill podcasts like Andrew Tate and all of them. He also talked about how he displayed homophobia, you know, how he was so in the advocation mind of I need to advocate for Andrew Tate. He even talked about how he posted a video defending Andrew Tate. So he advocated for these very things. And he, you know what he said? He said, I don't even know why I was homophobic until I asked myself why. And if you need the videos, if you still got it up there, I'll send you because it was amazing to listen to. The
Yeah.
awareness and the acknowledgement of I was told these things and I started to advocate for them because the external told me to just go by this, to not go internal, just to stick with this. So then I advocated for it. And it's like, that is why going internal matters, to ask yourself, to be able to ask yourself the questions, what am I hating this for? Like this person for? Well, what am I, is Tate speaking for women or just men? Just men, because realistically, Andrew Tate speaks for Andrew Tate, in my opinion. And Andrew Tate speaks for his own internal inhumanity, but he convinces people that he's speaking for women. Interesting. But anyway, the advocation of that gets put into human psychology. And then, however, men internalize that is through their own human psychology, through their own limiting beliefs, through their own belief systems. And then they advocate for that and they project it outward, outward, elsewhere, elsewhere. So then you have a loop until someone says, okay, let me actually ask myself the questions. And then once he did, he realized, what the hell am I advocating for? And now has actually taken the journey himself to understand the existence of what this actually is and where he wants to put his own time into, what his morals and values actually are.
If I may say something to that as well, there is a TV show that I love. I will say digest it slowly because there's a lot that gets covered. I think it's 4 seasons, so 4 years of content. It's called Traffic by Mariana Van Zeller. And she kind of goes underground into different organizations and stuff that's nefarious or like illegal, and it just kind of checks out what that system looks like, how it works, why people operate in these systems, and how society and governments and all of that interweaves itself within these organizations. And there's quite a few that have absolutely shocked me, and I had to, kind of like take a few weeks away from bad news of the world because it was overwhelming, and it can be overwhelming to watch. But there is one amazing episode where she goes into, let me just say it like this because I don't want to use the word, or the words, because I don't think it will go through within this podcast anyway. um, Communities that believe in keeping your bloodline clean, we're on the same page. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So she kind of infiltrated those spaces where said Andrew Tate also came up later within the toxic masculinity sphere within that discussion. But the man that she was interviewing was an ex-member of this organization, and three-letter organization, has specific alphabet, and he got out, and in the interview he talked about a lot of the young men that they recruit into these ideologies and into these mindsets, whether it be toxic masculinity with red pill or racism or anything else, um, is because a lot of men nowadays feel like they lack purpose. They don't know what to do with their lives. They don't know who they are, and they're desperately seeking community. And that leads them to be manipulated into these ideologies and into these communities, because it's like, oh, I have, a guy friend, and they say they're standing up for men and making sure that our blood lineage, our race or men in general, continue to stay on top, because we're losing something. We're on the edge of being eradicated. That's the ideology that they're pushing, these organizations, these members on top, when it's actually not the case. And you're being used, you're being manipulated, and you're being extorted, really. And you're being pulled away from everything that is actually human and natural and occurring in nature, into these unsafe and unhealthy mindsets and spaces with a lot of angry people who feel like something has been taken from them, when in fact that's just an illusion in a lot of ways. And so this story about this man who's posting on TikTok, we can leave the link down in the description, right? We can do that, if you guys want to watch it. But is very current, and it's sad. It's really, really sad that we have been so disconnected, not just men or women or whoever, but that we're all so disconnected from each other that, certain places, certain people, certain organizations, governments, whatever it may be, are using that to get to your brain and make you hate and make you other and make you feel like you're under attack. You yourself are under attack. And therefore you must stand up and defend us, so we can keep you safe, and we can keep this country safe, and we can, keep having laws, and these people are the ones you need to be angry about, when in fact it's just disconnection. Immigration, right? That's another topic, right? There are so many different facets of this, when in reality it's all the same, because it all comes down to, why are you being used for an agenda if you're a free person? Why are you being manipulated for something into a community? What are they getting out of it is the question that you need to be asking, because you're not getting anything out of it. You might be getting community. You might be getting brothers who you think are actually there for you, who are just as brainwashed and just as disconnected and just as scared and angry and tired and sad. When in reality, all you really need is to go inward and see what that world looks like, and why it is you feel the way you feel, and how can we heal this in a healthy way. Because being anti-human, and I mean that fully in the word, anti any type of human being on this planet Earth, is a very big sign to me that there is something off, not just in society, but also within the human self. Because there's no lion in the Sahara Desert. Well, maybe male lions, they do kill the female cubs to mate with the female. Well, there are no monkeys in the jungle. Let me use a different animal. There are no elephants. There are no cows that go around being like, you know what? This cow over there, she got brown spots. We can't have her around here. She gotta go. We need to keep our spots black. We can't have brown spots on a cow. That just, it gets rid of the purity of who we are as cows. Like, no cow does that. No cow is racist against another cow. Because they're the same species, and we're all the same species. And there's so much vibrancy in life to be lived and enjoyed, and not to be funneled down radical, stupid ideas that are anti-human and anti-community, and are made to separate us and put us into these mental boxes and in prisons. And it's just, I don't get it. But anyway, when it comes to advocacy, listen to what Ashley said. Go check in on yourself today. Have you drank some water? Go drink some water.
eat some food. Okay, just to add quickly, but and you can research this yourselves. I read something on TikTok today that research says that women, like female octopuses, when they don't want to mate, they throw rocks at the male octopuses. Wow, it's so interesting because is it no, a praying mantis? One of them actually plays dead to avoid mating.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
research. It's just when you were talking about the animals, it popped up in my head, and I thought it's very interesting.
Yeah.
The last thing I'd like to add to this is I think about going internal as the forefront movement only because you can become very consumed in the anger of what is currently happening. And I know for myself, it's been very present where you just want to rage. Like you just need to want to rage, right? But the thing that I said to myself is I don't want to express that like the people who literally project inhumanity do, because then it's just kind of participating but on a different side.
Yeah.
And that it's hard. Like I know it's hard because there have been moments where I thought, well, this person was racist and they openly said some things, and then someone online has posted their details and all that, and it's difficult because a part of me is like, fair enough, they chose to be so inhumane and they chose to literally cause harm towards someone else. And I know with what I said at the start, with feeling unsafe and not wanting to go through that myself, that's where I'm admitting it's hard because the level of inhumanity that exists and the amount of times that people just constantly will put people in the most harmful positions only because they're angry and they just want to have that moment of, I think that you did something to me or took something away from me, so now I want to make it out that you did and now put you in this horrible position. Like with immigration, you took jobs away from me, so now I'm going to make you uncomfortable and I'm going to harass you and all this, and it's just like, it's a journey to learn where even if there is there is a line, learning where that is, you know there's no perfect person, but figuring this out is a learning journey. It's a learning journey, and it does start with your morals and values, and where does that go, really? How do we change how we've been doing things so we can be heard as human beings a lot better than what we've been doing? But yeah, it's it's a learning journey.
Yeah. I will finish off with this, maybe some recommendations in terms
Mhm.
of something
Oh,
I
give
feel
it.
like I just watched this and I do want to preface this. This is not something for everybody. But I think this really shows very well the mess of activism and dysfunction and human beings essentially when it comes to standing up for what they believe in. It's a movie, it's a recent movie, it's called Eddington. I just saw it because it's part of A24 and I love that production company. But whew, I had to sit, but it talks about a lot of different things at the same damn time. So, which is essentially the life that we're living in. That's what it's supposed to represent. Um, Activism. What is activism? What is speaking up? What is going against or going up against people who don't share our views, but have their own reasonings as to why, and how far does that go, and what the hell is even happening in this world? That's literally the movie as, as the whole is the best way that I can describe it. But it is a tough watch, and a lot happens. So
Mm.
it's not for everybody, but it is a good representation of kind of the discussion that we're having today. And I had to throw it in there because I thought about that as you were just talking. But yeah, it's a learning journey. We're, you know, in our late 20s, and we're going to be okay. This is something I have to continually say to myself when it feels like the world is ending. We're going to be okay. We've been through worse as a humanity, and we will succeed. We will continue to do better. We will continue to evolve. But the bad has to clear itself out, and we have to address it finally, once and for all. And I hope that we, as a people, get the courage to do that on a systemic level, on a worldwide level, and not just in certain communities and certain groups and on certain days when we feel like it, but really look on the inside and see how we can dismantle the oppression that we've all been experiencing.
We've got to start somewhere, right? We've got to start somewhere.
And it starts today.
Why not? You know those ads that they put on TikTok where it's like, start getting fit today. If you start now, by the time Christmas comes, you will see this thing, that thing. Reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you start today, you'll see yourself walking out of your door and thinking, I've got this. That's point one. Number two, point two, you'll see a interaction of projection in person and go, okay, so what's right and what's wrong with the situation? Because you'll know the difference. Dot point, dot point, dot point.
Yes.
What is that like real movie kind of quote? Be a better you.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a fan of it, but just for the fun of that, I had to say it.
I like that. That'll be the title of this episode.
Yeah. Be a better you for a better world. Thank you.
Oh, no. That sounds like an AI company, like iRobot.
Don't subscribe to our Calm app that helps you meditate while you're looking to be a better you, to make a better world. Thank you. I could run my own little comedy of AI with this stuff, like the ads that I see.
But yeah, thank you,
Anyway,
guys, for joining us today on this very large discussion. But yeah, I will leave off with this. I will go. I will shut up. I promise. Every interaction you have is an invitation. You get to either say yes and go, or you get to be like, nah, I'm gonna stay home. I'm not gonna go to that party. So think about what are you interacting with today, and who are you allowing into your brain, but like what are you letting your brain be occupied by, and then just dismantle it.
Something.
Yes.
Disclaimer: everything that has been said in this episode is not the ultimate reasoning, the ultimate image, and everything else. There is also more to this conversation. So thank you for joining us on this episode. And you have a lovely, whatever day it is that this is getting posted, Sunday. Yes, have a lovely Sunday. Thank you.
Goodbye.